So first thing I want to do is say hello and welcome. My name's Andrew. So I know I'm excited. We've got people from all over the world at the moment. We've got a couple of people from the US. So thank you for joining us. It's Friday night over there, or Friday afternoon, and it's almost summer there, and it's winter here in Australia, certainly the south of Australia. So we've got people from Queensland. Mandy, where are you again? What's the name of the place you're in at the moment? You're on mute.
Is that?
No? I'm in Nauru.
Nauru, okay, which is off the coast of Queensland, isn't it? It's a long way off the coast of Queensland. Yeah. Is that an Australian colony or Australian?
It's independent, but it's supported by Australia.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. So some of you know me, some of you don't know me. I guess I'm hosting today, and I'm very excited to host this book launch because this is a book that I know, and John we'll talk about it with John, has taken a long time coming. John and his wife Ange and family have had to overcome a heartbreak tragedy that no one should ever have to suffer in their life, and the courage that this family has shown to not only deal with this tragedy but use it as a platform to inspire and help people and save lives. And certainly John has been doing that for many years. Probably it's over 20 years now, John, isn't it, that you've been
24 years, Andrew.
24 years you've been speaking in schools and inspiring and helping. And when John told me the other day that he's spoken to about 400,000 teenagers.
Yeah, over 450,000 students and over 300,000 at corporate events and football clubs, etc., etc. Yeah.
So that's pushing towards 1 million people that directly John has spoken to about Carmen's journey, and a lot of you that know me, I talk a lot about ripple effect. What impact have those people had? I mean, think about the millions and millions of people that have been impacted by Carmen's legacy and John and Ange's courage to share the story to help save lives. So the book represents a lot of tears, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. It represents a lot of courage, and the fact that John, you've finally written it is amazing, and it's a wonderful achievement. So how John and I met was we met through a networking group, and John was introduced to me. This is, I don't know, John, this is probably 10 years ago that we probably initially met, I think.
I would say, yes.
And, one of the things I do, I'm an author, and one of the things I do and love doing is helping other people write and get published and get their message out to impact the world. And John said to me, I'd like to write a book. Well, actually, I don't think he said he wanted to write a book. I think
I was right.
He needed to write a book, or he was writing a book.
Yes.
And was struggling, and I know that John and I worked together, and then John went on and finished his book. But the book, John, how long's the book been in the process for?
I started it 20 years ago, and when I spoke to you, Andrew, I was in such deep water. I was going nowhere. I was really struggling. I was crying a lot because it was an incredibly emotional book, because it's a very personal book of what happened to us and our family. And I don't think, no, I would go so far as to say this book would not be here today only for meeting you. That was very fortuitous, because you helped me to address the problems that I was having with continuing on with the book, and I actually had to fight. You taught me to fight through the really tough times, and to just do a little bit every day, and that got me going again, which was fantastic. And then once I got through the really tough bits, it started to flow, and that's why you probably didn't hear from me again for a fair while, because it really did start to flow, and I was able to finish the book myself, which was great.
Which is awesome. So the way today is going to work is I'm going to just have a bit of a conversation with John about, well, I think we need to go back, for those that don't know the story, and just, we don't want to spend too much time in the tragedy. We'd rather spend more time in the inspiration and the positive side of what happened. But I think for those that don't know the story, John will just touch on that, and then we'll have a bit of a conversation for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then I know, John, there's a couple of people here that have read the book and would like to share their thoughts. And then what we'll do is we'll open this up for questions and a forum and just, you know, I guess more than anything, I want to celebrate John. I want to celebrate Carmen, John and Ange, and celebrate Carmen and her legacy. And this book that it's been a tough one to write, a real tough one. I know, John, you said to me when we spoke, we did a podcast recently, and you said to me every word was like a stab in the heart, you know, and, you know, it's a book there's a lot of words in this book, right? That's a lot of stabs in the heart. So the fact that you got through it and did that, you know, again, all power to you, because this is a book that needed to be written, and this is now a book that'll take Carmen's legacy beyond your ability to communicate and your lifetime, and will take it on for many, many generations. In this book, and Carmen's legacy will impact lives for a long, long time, which is wonderful. So, John, just I guess just for a couple of minutes, just tell us about that day, and just so the people here have got a real understanding of what it is, what happened to Carmen and what happened to the family on that day. Was it back in 1996, was it?
1995, yep.
95.
The 18th of November, 1995, a beautiful Saturday morning, yep. And actually on the front cover of the book, Andrew, the very top, I say here, it is a journey of tragedy and hope, because so many people will know that when they lose someone, and that loved one in particular, you really do think it's the end of the world. And it doesn't have to be, but it needs a lot of love, a lot of support, and a lot of pulling together of friends and family to help you to get through this tragedy. And what actually happened with Carmen, it was a beautiful Saturday morning on the 18th of November 1995. And Carmen, it was a Saturday, so Carmen would normally sleep until about around about 11 o'clock of a morning, and she'd get up in time to go and play tennis. This particular Saturday morning, Michelle, our eldest daughter, came down into the kitchen, and here was Carmen, already up, fully dressed at 7:30 in the morning, and she was in the kitchen. She had her arms on the table and her head in her arms, and she was asleep. Michelle was an apprenticed hairdresser, so she had to get ready for work. And when she walked into the kitchen, she saw Carmen and she said, "Carmen, what are you doing up?" And what had happened the night before, Carmen's very best friend, Carmen Trevine. Now, these two girls were the best of best friends from primary school right through secondary school. And our Carmen had picked Carmen Trevine up from school. She was a year 12 student, and brought her out home, and she stayed the night. What we didn't know at the time was that the two girls had talked in the bedroom until 4:30 in the morning, as you do when you have your friend over, as young people do. And I think I can't remember that far back, but I reckon I probably did that as well. Just then Carmen Trevine walked into the kitchen and she said, "Come on, Carmen, let's go." So the two Carmens went out to the car, but Michelle, who was 23, went out to the car with them. And she said, "Carmen, you're tired. Wind the window down. Turn the wireless up. You'll be right, mate. I'll catch you later." And she gave her a big thumbs up. I was getting dressed in the bedroom, and I actually heard Carmen toot as she left home for the 20-minute drive into Bendigo, and of course 20 minutes home again. She had to drop Carmen Trevine off at McDonald's. Michelle went back inside and got ready for work. She got in her car at 8:10, and when she got in her car, she thought to herself, "I would have expected Carmen home by now." She drove out the gate, gave us a toot, went down to McIver Highway. When she got to McIver Highway, now remember, this is a highway. She pulled up at the stop sign, and there was no traffic whatsoever on the highway. And she said, she looked to the right where you can see a couple of kilometres up the road, and there was no cars coming. And she thought, "Where's Carmen? I should be seeing Carmen." And she said her heart nearly stopped. She turned right, and as she was driving in, there was still no traffic on the highway. And she said her heart started racing. She started to feel sick. She actually felt like vomiting, she said. She knew something was wrong, and she felt in her heart that it was to do with Carmen. And just 5 kilometres from home, she came across Carmen's car crash. Thankfully, Carmen had dropped Carmen Trevine off at McDonald's in Bendigo. But on the way home, driving into the sun on this magnificent Saturday morning, I know what she's done because I've done it myself, where you get really tired when you're driving. And she was obviously tired beforehand. The sun warmed her up. She closed her eyes and Carmen fell asleep at the wheel, and she crashed into a tree, and poor Carmen was killed instantly. So Michelle pulled up. She went running towards the car. Fortunately for us, the first person on the scene was a young policeman, a 24-year-old policeman. And he stepped out and grabbed Michelle and he said, "Where do you think you're going, young lady?" Michelle said, "That's my sister in that car and I'm going to take her home." He said, "I can't let you do that." Michelle said, "That's my sister in that car and I'm taking her home." He said, "I'm really sorry, but I can't let you do that." Michelle could see the condition of the car. She then said to the young policeman, "Is Carmen all right?" This poor young policeman burst into tears. He said, "I'm really sorry, but your sister is dead." Michelle was just 23 years old, being told that she was only a metre from Carmen. She started screaming and crying. She then wrestled with the policeman. She fought with him. She actually punched him in the face to try and get away from him to get to Carmen. Fortunately for us, he held her tighter. Michelle then pleaded with him. She said, "Please let me go to Carmen. She's in that car on her own. I need to be with Carmen. I need to hold Carmen's hand." He said, "I really can't let you do that. I'm so sorry." Michelle then said to him, "But you don't understand. It's my fault that Carmen is dead." And since then, I can tell you that on the 17th of May, only a week ago, Michelle turned 50 years old, and she still blames herself for Carmen's death. But the book absolutely is amazing. And the thing that amazed me about my book is the chapter that Michelle wrote. I cried through that chapter because neither Ange nor myself understood or knew what Michelle was going through. We knew that we had to look out for our children. We knew that we had to look out for ourselves because we just lost our beautiful Carmen. But Michelle was in such a dark place and she hid it from us. And I kept encouraging Michelle to keep going to the counsellor. And she'd go and she'd walk away and say, "I'm never going back again. He can't help me." And Michelle was fighting her demons. And we didn't understand until we read Michelle's chapter how close we came to losing Carmen. But one thing that I will say about this book, and that is that it teaches everyone who they are. And everyone is in this world is the most important person in the world to the people who love them so much. And I know the reason that Michelle is with us today, because she understood that she couldn't do to us what she was thinking of doing. She couldn't because she knew that she was the most important person in the world. And we all have to accept who we are. And we are indeed the most important people in the world. And I feel so sorry for every single family that is in our situation, in our position, where we have lost the most important person in the world. And I just thought Carmen was Carmen. I knew she was amazing because she was our amazing youngest daughter, who when she walked in the room, I'm telling you, the room lit up because she was so full of life and so full of fun. And if ever there was a party to be organised, Carmen was the one who would organise it. She was the youngest, but she loved life so much, and she loved sharing her life and sharing other people's lives with herself. But her strength came through in all of us. She added enormous strength to all of us. It did take me 20 years to write the book, Andrew, but I am so proud of this book because in this book is a chapter from Michelle, Katrina, and Jasmine. And each one of those chapters have added enormously to this book. And they have been the defining chapters that have made this book, I believe, great. And Ange is sitting here watching, and poor Ange couldn't write a chapter for the book because, and I understand 100% why Ange couldn't do it, because I cried so much. You've never seen a 50 and 60-year-old person, bloke, footballer, cricketer, person who wouldn't cry, cry so much, but I did. I kept breaking down, because to put each word on the computer, word by word, was indeed a stab in the heart. Losing Carmen, that chapter, and then speaking about Ange and speaking about the kids and speaking about what happened to us. It was so, so hard. And I am glad that Ange didn't try to put herself through that, because we all spend a lot of time in counselling. And I don't care how macho a person is, if you need counselling, you need counselling. It's as simple as that, and you should get it, and you must get it.
Yeah.
And I am really proud of Ange, because Ange was supporting all of us. We would come into the kitchen and we would sit down and we would go through what we'd written, and we would cry, and Ange would put the kettle on, and we would go through another chapter. Someone else would read a bit, and then we'd be crying again and we couldn't read it, so the kettle would go on again. And it ended up at the stages where it wasn't the kettle, it was Bailey's that was coming out. So some of this book is quite euphoric, and it is not, people say it's a sad book. It is not a sad book. This is a book of empowerment. It will empower every single person who reads this book to be the safest person they can possibly be, not just for themselves, but for the people who love them so much, because everybody must stay in our lives forever.
Yep. So that's awesome, John. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. And yeah, just because you're a footballer or a tough exterior doesn't mean you don't have a heart, and that you don't feel very, very deeply, which I know you do, John. And I know that you're very quickly after Carmen's death, you knew there was a reason for her death, and that was to, and I think your message is very loud and clear when you speak to students, particularly and teenagers, that car crashes can be avoided, car crashes can be prevented, and it is, as you said, it's not, Carmen died in an instant, and thankfully she didn't really suffer. Yet this has been 26 years for your family, and that pain's still there, and that pain's not going to go away forever. And I know Mick's here as well, and Mick's going to share, and he lost his daughter 7 years ago in a car crash, or she got hit by a car, and that pain never goes. And so the message, John, I know that why you're so passionate is to get people to stop and think about when they get behind the wheel of a car, really think about the impact if their life is taken because of a car crash. So tell us about, mate, what it was that inspired you to want to get in front of people. It's close to 1 million people now over the last 20 odd years to really get this message out.
Yes, well, 2 years after we lost Carmen, 4 young guys were killed in Bendigo, where we live just outside of Bendigo. We're now in Ballarat, but 4 were killed in Bendigo. None of them had a licence, but the driver was going for his licence on the Monday. So they were out in his car in the Whipstick Forest just doing donuts on a dirt road. No one's around, it's a forest. They're having a bit of fun in a car, as you do when you're 17 and 18 years old. And what happened was that the car flipped onto its side, skidded up against a tree, and the roof of the car was pushed down on the doors. No one was injured, but they couldn't get out of the car, and the car caught on fire, and all the boys were burnt to death. And I coached one of those boys' fathers at cricket, and I actually verbally said to myself, something has to be done about this. And I said, stop feeling sorry for yourself, get off your backside and do something about it. I have a story to be told, and it is Carmen's story. And if I can go out there with Carmen's story and empower one person to make a great decision when they're using the roads, or to not do the wrong thing, or not take that risk, we may save a life or indeed a serious injury. Because and we talk about death on our roads, and yet for every person who is killed on our roads, there are 18 people who are so seriously injured that they can't get back to school or work for a minimum of 6 months. And out of those 18, it averages at 2.5 that never leave the institution that they end up in. So this is far reaching. incidents that happen on our roads. And we know that the most dangerous place in this country and in every country is the roads. If we're going to, at our age and our health, that we think we're healthy, should we die today, the possibility is that it can only be on the roads. That's how things happen. So I decided to take this to the schools initially, and that has grown to where now I speak at between 60 to 80 schools a year. Of course, COVID put a stop on it for a while. And I also do a lot at corporate. But when I was giving my corporate presentations, one of the things that people kept coming up and saying to me is, where can we buy your book? And of course, I never ever had a book. And I'm an international keynote speaker. And when I spoke at the $1 Million Roundtable in Vancouver, Canada, there was an entire room full of books of all of the public speakers who had books. And the other thing was, I knew I was getting older. And when I speak to students, and I've aimed this book at students, however, I can tell you that one of my biggest customers, the people who buy the most, are grandparents. I had a grandparent 2 weeks ago, bought 8 books, one for each of his grandchildren. And I can't think of a better $20 gift to give a young person who's learning to drive or about to drive. And I had to get this message out there. And because I was getting older, I had to make sure long after I stopped speaking, this message continues on. And I believe Carmen can continue on through this book, and the message can continue on through this book, because my intention is to see if I can get it into the education system in Australia. And that is the way to do it. Students at school are being educated, and they are soaking up information. And we can empower these young people to be the safest drivers and better people. And they can learn respect out of this book. They can learn the value of family. They can learn the value and understand how important they are. But I would love to see this book at the year 10 level in the curriculum in Australia. And I believe it could form the foundation of educating our young people to be safer road users in particular, but other areas as well, like what Michelle went through when you have depression and all of that type of thing. People realise they can actually work their way through these types of things. But to educate people at year level, at year 10 level, with this book as the foundation, the next years become the building blocks of what our young people will learn as road users. So we need to draw a line in the sand and have this start in 2023, because at the moment, people think in Victoria, for example, that the TAC are the road safety people. They're not the road safety people, they're an insurance company. They think maybe the Victorian state government should be the road safety people. They're a Victorian state government. This isn't the case. The road safety people in this country, in every country, is ourselves. There's only one person who, when they go onto the road, can look after their own life, and that's me, and that's you. And therefore, we have to be taught to understand our own responsibilities, and that is to make certain that we never take a risk, we don't drink and drive, we don't take drugs and drive, we don't speed, we don't do all of the things that we know we shouldn't do. We all know we shouldn't do it, but people still do it.
They do, and I think they do it because they're only thinking of themselves, and they're not thinking about the consequences, and they're not thinking about the people who love them if their life is taken. And I think that's such a strong message that comes through. And I've heard you speak to schools a couple of times, John, and I have seen big, tough 17-year-old boys, break down, and I know you get lots of cuddles. You love your cuddles, and you're having such an incredible impact on so many lives, mate. So it's just amazing. So what we might do, John, you've got maybe you can introduce. I know Mick wants to share a few things. I'm not sure if there's anyone else here, but I know you've also got some messages that from people that couldn't make it.
Yes.
Just a little bit about the impact of the book, that it's had on their lives. So, John, who is it that you'd like to?
Well, that would be great. And while I introduced Mick, I would also like to ask Colleen if she'd would mind making a comment afterwards as well. So I'd like to hand over to Mick. Mick, would you like to comment on, you've both read the book, and Colleen's waving her hand there.
You're on mute, Colleen.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Colleen. There you go. Okay.
You're still on mute.
You're still on mute, but we'll go over to Mick. And Colleen, if you could unmute yourself, we'll go to Mick so that Mick can say what he has to say.
Yeah, thanks, John. I'm Mick English, and I'm from Bendigo in Victoria. I've known John and the family for several years, going back probably close to 40.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity, John. Look, reading the book, it really impacted very, very much on Jill and I and our family, particularly as we have come from a similar background where we've had a road death in the family just a few short years ago, 7 coming up for now. And it seems just like yesterday. That's the impact that it has on us. And it came to us as it's the first time we understood what you, Ange, and the girls have gone through with the loss of your beautiful Carmen. And you've actually done extremely well with this wonderful book. It is like a Bible for new drivers. It really is an important work, John, and we're so proud of you and the girls for putting it all together and bringing it to the young people on the roads today, because seriously, I don't know how you wrote it. It just brought us both to tears. It is a demonstrative, detailed book, very, very difficult to read, but it's a must read. It really is an important book. The devastation and the loss and the trauma that a road death of one of your own beautiful kids, they're not meant to leave us, you know, before we go as parents. And I'm just so sad for you, and I'm sad for ourselves that what happened. But please get this to the education system and bring it into these year 10 kids. If you get their L plates, you're going to teach them to drive. For God's sake, it costs you $20 for the book. It costs you $20 for the P plates. It's the greatest gift you are going to give to your kids.
Yep.
And you may save a life, but you'll teach them to become responsible citizens. So well done, John. Congratulations, mate. It's a really hard-hitting book, but a great book.
Much, Mick. That's fantastic. That's
Good on you, Mick. I just want to add one thing. I mean, thank you, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm not a parent. I don't have kids, and but this book, for me, I needed to read the book for me, because I still, even though I'm, far from a child now, far from a teenager, but I know that, sometimes when I'm driving, I'm thoughtless, and, what it's done for me is help me be better on the road as well. And also, as I'm talking and speaking in schools, there's stuff from John, from this book that I can share as well. So you don't need to have kids or grandkids, to have the book. I think this is a book for absolutely every single person. It's such a, there's so much wasted lives when people that die in road crashes, in car crashes, and it can be prevented. John, who else? Is there anyone else? I think Colleen, she doesn't seem to be here anymore.
She might have been waving goodbye. She might have had to leave. Maybe that's what might have been.
Maybe.
I saw her waving, yes. But look, I have some comments here, and so many. The interesting thing is that Carmen would have been 43 today, Ange?
43? Is today a birthday?
No. In August. She's 43 now. But Narelle Cregan was at school with Carmen, so in the same class. And this is what Narelle made the very first comment made on our website. And this is what she said: I collected the book today from author John Maher and his lovely wife, Angela Maher. These amazing people are also the parents of my late high school friend Carmen, who tragically lost her life in a car crash when she was just 18. I had finished reading it already as I couldn't put it down. And that has been the theme right through from most people who have read the book, that they couldn't put it down, which is incredible. So many empowering and life-changing messages in this beautifully written book. Lots of tears were shed also. Please, I urge everyone to buy yourself a copy or gift it. This would be a particularly fantastic gift for any teenager learning to drive, as it will most definitely inspire them to make the best driving choices and help them and may save their lives. You will not be disappointed should you purchase this book. And Narelle is with her children at the moment at sport on Saturday morning. This was from Faye Tui. And I think this is just very short and very succinct. I purchased this book on Saturday and finished reading it Saturday night. Couldn't put it down. John Maher's greatest gift may be his ability to remind us that how we think about life really does matter, including work, parenting, well-being, values, driving our cars, etc. He has highlighted what is important in our lives and what is not. And I think that's really good, because there are some things that we hang around with that are not important in our lives, and they drag us down. So that was really good. And this is from Jasmine Forbes. Wow, what an incredible book you have written. You must feel so proud of all you have accomplished. I finished Carmen's Legacy in one night because I could not put it down. I have never read a book so full of emotion. It was so raw and from the heart. I could hear you and your girls speak to me almost through the book. It was incredible. I learned so much from reading, and my family did as well. We have always been safe road users, but we are much safer because of the work that you and Carmen continue to do. Thank you so much for bringing a 20-year project to life. It is so valuable. So, I feel really humbled to be receiving comments like this, but it also drives me with my ultimate goal, and that is to see if I can, and I'm only me, and this is a self-published book, and I'm not putting myself down. I'm certainly elevating the book, because I'm hoping to be able to convince our education system in Australia to accept this book as a worthwhile read for our students at year 10 level. It's a family book. It's an easy read. And in fact, Father Glasheen, who married two of our daughters for us, he's 84 years old, and he telephoned me the other night, and his comment was, "It is the hardest easy book I have ever read in my life," which I thought was fantastic, because he said, at 84 years old, you shouldn't cry, but he said, I did. And he was stuck in COVID too, so he read it in one day as well. And I am determined to get this into the schools. If the education system doesn't do it themselves, I will try and get it into every single school individually if I have to.
That's awesome, John. That's so inspiring. And thanks, Rosemary's popped a little message into the chat that it's inspiring, extraordinary legacy. So, which is so true. So what we might do for the next 5-10 minutes is open this up. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask John, or any comments or thoughts or experiences they'd like to share? I think now's a good time, because I think, while this conversation's there, let's do something. I mean, there's only sort of 12 people in this little group right now, but wow, what impact can 12 people have on the world if we sort of, get on board with what John's trying to do and Carmen's legacy. There's some real power we can have, not just in Australia, but all around the world. So anyone got any questions or thoughts?
I have just one question, Andrew. Like, it's perhaps a petition through change.org or something like that. Would that be worthwhile? Something like that to put to the minister?
Who's the question to? Is that for John?
For John, yes.
Yeah, to get the book into the schools, Mick.
Yes.
Yeah,
John,
that's a good idea, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Great thought. Yes.
I'd be happy to draft it up for you.
Oh, that'd be great, Mick. Yeah, good on
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
You leave it with me and I'll get it going.
Thanks,
Good
mate.
on
That's
you.
terrific.
Good on you, Mick.
All right.
That's
Well
awesome.
done. That's
Hey,
what I
what
see.
positive step that is. That's
Wonderful.
amazing.
Wonderful.
Good on you, Mick. Now, Fred, did you have a question?
Well, I just want to make a comment. I want to thank you, John, for your book. When I was in high school, I finished in '69. There was an accident with some students. They cut school and somebody got killed. Later in life, friends of mine were in accidents. They were not taking driving seriously. So your book is long overdue, and congratulations and thank you for writing it.
Thank you so much, Fred. That's wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
I'll just add, not only for young people, but at age 55, after a brain injury of years, I was diagnosed with vertigo, and I got to where I couldn't park a car between two white lines in my apartment complex, and gave my car back and took myself off the road. So at 55, I made the decision that I didn't want my family, my son and my mom, to be given the news that I had been in yet another car accident, or I would hurt someone else on the road in a car accident. So your book is not only for young people, but for older people making wise decisions of when to take themselves off the road.
Absolutely. Look, that's a really great comment, because when I spoke to my editor, when she had the draft of the book, she said, what demographic are you aiming this book at? I said, everybody who uses the roads. And she said, no, it's too wide of a demographic. And so she suggested that I aim it at the younger drivers, which I have access to easily through the schools, which is great. However, you're absolutely correct. And I've got, as I said before, grandparents are buying this book as a gift for their grandchildren, because I think that as a grandparent, because Ange and I are grandparents, Ange doesn't look like she's old enough to be a grandparent, but I do. And we know that our grandchildren are the most amazing people in the world. We get up every day, we're in their lives, we just love our grandchildren, and grandparents will purchase this book for the grandchildren, but grandparents also die on our roads. Parents are killed on our roads. Brothers and sisters are killed on our roads. So I believe that once this gets into the household, it won't be just the young driver who reads the book, particularly if I can get it in through the year 10 level. The mum and dad are going to be sitting there, and they're going to be wondering why their child is doing their homework, reading Carmen's Legacy and doing their homework on what they're reading, and wondering why their 6-foot year 10 boy is writing things down and shedding tears. They're going to want to read this book. This book will belong and stay in that family. It might be lent to somebody else, but I'll guarantee they'll want to get it back.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think it's a great book that families can use to just to discuss and converse around. You know, I think it's a wonderful conversation starter for families. Now, Mandy's got a hand up. So, Mandy, let's hear from you.
I'll just try and work out how to put my hand on too. There we go. John, I just want to say that I had your story, and it was very emotional, and I really, my heart goes out to you and your wife and family. It's frustrating that we have to go through these absolutely hideous tragedies in order to, to be the people that create the change and force the change and be the change. And yeah, I just basically want to congratulate you for sticking in there and go and doing what you're doing and writing such a compelling book. And I'm going to get a copy of it. I'm really, really attracted to it. I guess if I added something would be, I've just been recently thinking about how I do things in a distracted state. And I sliced my finger the other day and realised that I was doing something with a knife while I was thinking about something else. And I thought, if only we can, just stay in the present moment and do what we're doing and do it with great thought and care and consideration, then so many of these tragedies may not happen. Anyway, thank you very, very much for being you.
Thank you, Mandy. That's
Good on
really
you,
good.
Mandy.
And you're absolutely correct, because I don't know how many, and I've done it. I've driven through a town, and I'm driving along on the highway out in country Victoria somewhere, and have I driven through such and such a place? And it's lack of, you might be concentrating on the road at the time, but you don't put 100% concentration always into what you're doing. And I have to say that people give our young people in Australia a bit of a bum rap, because they are not the ones who are killed on the road mostly, but they are the ones who take the greatest risk, and they don't do the most stupid things like speeding as a group, pinching cars, all of that type of thing. And that's why they're at the highest level of risk. However, the most people that are killed on our roads obviously are the older people, because there are more older people with licenses. But we have to start somewhere. And I am hoping that with Carmen's legacy, we could start with our young people, and they can be the future of safety on our roads. They need to be. There has to be change. 1,100, it has never, ever come below 1,100 people killed on Australian roads ever. And it's going up again this year. It's going to increase again this year, right across every state.
Yeah.
So it's a worry. It's a worry. And look, we're talking about the book, and I am really hoping that this Carmen's legacy is going to make a difference. And long after I'm gone, I'm hoping it will continue to make a difference.
I'm sure it will, mate. I'm sure it will. Paul.
John, thank you so much for sharing. And it's obviously a story that, you know, even just looking at the images around the screen, your story touched us. I work in a school, and we do have a program or a relationship with police, and they come in and speak. And I wonder, as a way of reaching more schools or getting into more organizations, particularly schools, because that's the target that you really, I think you're right. I think trying to get that message to year 10 is good, of course. And you know this better than I do, but speaking to year 10 students, they think they're invincible. They have this notion that, you know, yes, that's a sad story. Excuse my familiarity. That's a nice story, old man. What would you know? I'm not going to make those mistakes, etc., etc. That's the mindset of these young people. But I also appreciate personal story has big impact. And I'm just thinking about helping you to get into more schools. Is it perhaps a relationship that you might build with the police, and that they start to back up or support their ministry into schools, perhaps with a personal story like your own? And or do you take the books, and do you offer, you know, half price books if you buy 200 books or something, so that every year 10 student who's in the auditorium walks out with one of your books to continue processing it?
Yes, look, I think they're great ideas. What I have found is that I can't form a relationship with the police. I can't form a relationship with the TAC. I have tried to, and the typical response comes from the TAC, which is, if we support a parent who has lost a child like you have, the way you want us to, and that is to help you. Look, I have to charge schools, and my fee to a school is $900, and I don't charge for travel or accommodation if I have to stay over anywhere. And on Wednesday of this week, I spoke to 380 Year 10 students at MacKillop College in Werribee, and you can hear a pin drop. Now, they have had me there, coming there for 12 years. Once I get to a school, they never, ever say, don't come back, because that's how powerful the presentation is. But the response I got from the TAC, and I received the same letter twice in 5 years, was if we support you, we will have to support every parent who wants to do something like this. Now, I've been doing it for 24 years, and I doubt that there'd be any other parent that would have put their shoulder to the wheel of trying to save students' lives with their own personal story and put themselves through what I continue to put myself through by telling Carmen's story every time I present. However, I found it's better for me to go alone and contact the schools, send them information about what I have. But your idea of reducing the price dramatically on the book to get it into the schools is a fantastic idea, because each school I've gone to so far have put it into their library, which one school put 10 books in their library, and they contacted me the next week and asked for another 30 because those 10 books went straight away because of the kids who just heard my presentation. So that's great, but I would actually rather see it in the homes. And your idea of a reduced price book would be a great thing to be able to do, to get it into the homes of the particularly the Year 10 students. Let's get it into their hands.
Yes, Andrew's put the your website up, and I'll have a look. I'll reach out to you, and we'll get you into our school for sure. And then the potential from my perspective is to open you up to, you know, I meet with chaplains. There's 40 chaplains who I meet with regularly. To have you come and speak to the chaplains, to then, you know, that's another 40 schools in the network that you can, you know, potentially reach into as well. So I'll send you a message.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Good on you, Cole. That's awesome. Carmel.
I've known John and the family for many years, and I knew the story of Carmen's tragic death, but I understood it a bit more from listening to John when my daughter came home from school one day and said that she'd listened to John do his presentation at her school. And she was amazed, and she obviously went up to John and told him who she was and got the cuddle. And I've got photos of John with Catherine. But the following year, I asked the school, or asked John to ask the school, could I actually go and listen to his presentation? And just to hear it from my point of view, even though I knew the whole story, but I wanted to listen to the presentation. And I was actually amazed at the watching with the kids and the result of it afterwards, and the chat in the playground and afterwards, not the playground, but in outside afterwards, from these kids, and how long it took them to move out of the auditorium because they all wanted to chat to John. And it's such an important story. And I have yet to get my copy of the book off John. I've ordered one, but haven't caught up with him yet. But I just want to congratulate you on following through and putting the story in writing, and hopefully I can catch up with you soon to get the copy. But it definitely is worth listening to for the kids at the schools, because my daughter definitely did get something out of it.
And I did too. I got a cuddle from your daughter too, Carmel. She was fantastic. Yeah. And I got a cuddle from her mum the next year.
Well, we're all sending you virtual cuddles right now, John.
That's great.
And
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks, Carmel, for that.
As I say in the schools, Andrew, I say the most rewarding thing and most underrated thing is a cuddle, and you should never ever give a cuddle away freely without thought and without appreciation, because we know that the thing that we miss the most about Carmen is that we can't give her a cuddle.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. And you know, this tragedy has given, you know, it's been a tragedy, there's no doubt about it, but it's given John the platform to be able to impact lives. So now, John, Carmen's with you every day. Carmen travels with you all around Australia and around the world, and Carmen is going to be there long beyond you and sharing her message. And I think as hard as it is for a family to lose their daughter, and Mick, you know, again, heart goes out to you, but to know that this legacy will live on and impact lives, I think doesn't take away the pain, but at least gives it some meaning. And I think like we're all going to go at some point, aren't we? And it's not how long we're on this planet for. It's what we do. It's what we do with the time that we've got and the impact that we have. And certainly Carmen, in her 18 years of life, certainly left an impressive legacy that will live on long into the future for sure. So we're coming to the end, and in the chat, I have put the link to John's to buy the book. So you'll see that if you go into the chat, or well, let me just share my screen now, just so you can see. This is John's website, so it's carmen.com.au, and right there on the homepage, you can now buy Carmen's Legacy. There it is there. So I don't think you should buy one book. I think you should buy lots of books, and give them to people that you love, and give them to your sons and daughters, to your grandkids, to your friends. You know, I think this is a book that that the more we can do to help John with his legacy and Carmen's legacy, I think the more impact we can all have in helping save lives. So, John, just as we wrap up, is there anything you would like to, any final comments you would like to make?
There is actually. Ange I can see Ange up there in the corner, and this isn't just my legacy. I've got my name on the book, but Michelle, Katrina, and Jasmine have all written a chapter each, and this is our family's legacy. It's Carmen's legacy through us to everyone who will read this book. They will take Carmen's lessons out of this book, and I am just hoping that one life can be saved. One person makes that great choice of not doing something that may cost them their life or even cost them an injury. And I would love to see people spread the word about Carmen's legacy, because the more people who has this in their hands, the safer we're all going to be. And I can guarantee you'll enjoy the read. You may shed a few tears, but you will enjoy it.
Guaranteed you will shed tears.
Yes.
Guaranteed. Get a box of tissues. So we're gonna wrap it up, and I know, sorry, Christine, you've come in right at the end, so maybe missed the timing, but the good news is this is recorded. So what I'll do, I'll upload this recording to YouTube, John, and I'm going to post it on so the Elite Club website, and I'll send you the link so you can send it off to people that missed this. So if you did miss this, or if you know someone that wanted to be here, the recording is going to be there, and you'll be able to relive this inspiration and share this event to people that you care about. So congratulations, John and Ange, and well done on the hard work, and keep going and keep making a difference.
Thank you so much.
Everyone that was here, thank you for supporting John and the publishing of his first book. I don't know if there's any more in here, John, but
there's no more in that. and Andrew, thank you for your wonderful support. You've just not only did you kick me off 10 years ago and make this happen, make this come to fruition, your support here has brought me to other people and brought Carmen's legacy to other people, and I really appreciate what you've done. It's fantastic.
My pleasure, mate. All right, guys, have a wonderful Friday evening for the Americans. The Australians have a beautiful Saturday, and look forward to speaking and seeing you all very, very soon. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.